a chick, 1, 2.
Hey everybody, this is Norm Mathers from Enigma Media. Today we have a very special guest, Rob O'Day, sitting in on the interview. We're talking to Calgary-based Spit of Sin. How are you guys doing today?
Hello, doing great. How are you
Fantastic.
guys?
We're doing fantastic this morning.
Yeah, I almost spot my coffee out there. I thought he was going to introduce you guys first.
Come on, we got the CEO of Enigma Media here. So why don't you guys tell us a little bit about yourselves, introduce yourselves, and tell us about how the band got started.
All right. My name's Sasha, and I'm like the front person of the band. I play guitar and sing, and I started Spit of the Sin like a long time ago, in like 2015, 2016, and it's gone through a lot of different lineups and stuff like that. And yeah, I listen to all sorts of music. I kind of started off with like rock and stuff, and then got really into metal and
Okay.
stuff. So like the EP is kind of stuff that I wrote like older. So it's a little bit more kind of rockin' and groovy and stuff, but I definitely, like that. But we do want to get like heavier and different things. And then, yeah, it's been a long time. I've gone through a few different lineups, but now I've got Connor here. He's like the second longest member. So 4 years, I think just now it's like the 4-year anniversary that he's been playing in the band. And we had to get a new drummer last year in the start of the year. We lost our old drummers, so then we had to start over again. So
No.
it's been a long time of like getting there and get everybody on like the songs and the EP songs and then covers, play shows, and then you lose someone, and then you got to get that person like set up again and caught up again, and so we're ready for the next stage. I think we're here finally.
Yeah, our current drummer couldn't be here today. He is on his way to Birmingham in England.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
So, yeah, otherwise he would be here. But his name's Court Davies. He's actually an old high school friend of mine that I used to play with back in the day.
Oh, sweet.
And and then when our last drummer, Justin, had to move to BC for work, I look at Sasha and I'm like, hey, I know a guy. Let's try him out. And he definitely fits in well, contributes a lot. Great drummer, really good friend. So we're glad to have him.
Person. That's a big thing.
Yeah, that's super important to find in bands. Good people.
Yeah. It was hard too because COVID, like we were trying to find, and like you weren't supposed to be doing like getting together and things like right. So it was like kind of hard to
No, yeah, and I find like drummers are always the first ones to like be replaced in the sense that they either don't want to do it anymore or they just kind of lose the interest.
Or spontaneously combust, and all that's left is a little speck of green on the drum stool.
Yeah, exactly.
Spinal Tap.
Yeah, it definitely makes it difficult too when you're trying to develop something that needs dedication and then it just kind of falls flat. It's very gut punching.
Yeah, or like that constantly starting over again, or like and then
No, it's true.
Yeah, Rob and I dealt with that in our band. Even we had a guitar player from England, and unfortunately he got deported back to England through COVID. Didn't have enough work and stuff like that in Canada for him. And we tried to get him back for like a whole year, and then found out it wasn't going to work out. And it was a huge punch to the gut. We were just like, what do we do? Thank God Rob's master musician, and he stepped up for us, and he's been slaying on the guitar now. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, but it's definitely like it almost takes the wind out of the sails,
It can.
Yeah, I know. I have heard that with a few musicians, buddy that came to Calgary, or a buddy that was a drummer in Red Deer, and no more work, and then gets deported back to England or Australia, and then it's hard to come back, and they want to be here and work and stuff, or our buddies in Battlegath, they did their CD release and stuff this summer at the beginning, and then they were gonna get Shadow of Death from Mexico. We're gonna come up to Alberta again to play some shows,
Ooh.
and they couldn't because of vaccine reasons and stuff, or they didn't have the right ones, or
Okay.
and so they didn't get to come, or it was such a big risk that it wasn't worth it. So they didn't get to come and didn't get to do their tour and stuff. So it really sucked.
No,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
COVID put a
As a
damper
band,
on a
sure.
lot of things.
Yeah. I think for everyone, it was like start of 2020, everyone's just like big goals. This is our year. This is my year. And then it just.
Honestly,
it's
my
true.
life didn't change much.
Right? I'm kind of a homebody too.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like,
Same.
oh, I don't have to go see people now. Like, I'm not allowed. That's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. That's fine with me. Yeah. More time to myself. Yeah.
The only thing, I like to get my hair cut at least once a month. And I probably went a solid 4 or 5 months, and so my beard was probably out to here.
Hell yeah, brother! You fucking grow that thing
Right.
out.
Right?
I want to
We
see it
tell
whipping.
them.
I want to see it whipping around on stage. You know.
Yeah, there you go. Because we say grow it out, right? And then just do the beard, right? I think
Yeah,
you're
you
saying
could-
that now.
you
You're gonna
could
go
be
this way instead of this way.
You could be like the bass
That's so
player
funny.
from Lamb of God. He just got this big white beard, and it just fucking shakes everywhere while he's jamming on stage.
Totally.
Yeah, I don't look good with longer hair.
I hear
Right,
ya.
I
Keep
think
it
that-
short,
That's the-
clean.
Clean cut, right? That works.
Yeah, no, fair enough. The since COVID, the Calgary scene, from what I've seen and what we played, it seems to have blown up again, which is really nice to see.
Yes, definitely. I know too, like around 2019, like there was one of those venues we play a lot, and it was just like there just seemed like there was less people coming out and stuff like that. And then it does seem now that there's more people coming out to shows, and it's really good. And we went out to Moments Fest, or I did, just the other weekend.
Nice.
Ryan and I, my boyfriend, my fiance, and it's awesome to see. There's a lot of like young bands and young fans and stuff, and young punks and everything. So there was a lot of people really happy about that in the next generation. And
yeah, how was your guys' summer with shows so far? Well, I guess the summer's over, but how was it?
Yeah, it was good. We did at the beginning of June. We did a show, the Decimate fundraiser show.
Okay.
Oh
And
yeah.
that's like Sloan from Siren. You
Yeah.
guys are doing a show with them, right?
Yeah, we played
Or
Decimate.
soon? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, so we
right.
were at Decimate, so that's awesome because Sloan is, shout out to Sloan because like she's
Yes.
an amazing person.
Yes,
Totally.
shout out. Yeah, we did just like the fundraiser that was like the month or a few weeks before it.
Mhm.
That's
So
awesome.
we ended up playing that, and that was in High River at the High River Brewing Company, and that's like Connor lived in High River, and the drummer.
Yeah,
and
me and Court were both from High River.
Oh,
Oh
Yeah.
sweet.
So
yeah,
it was kind of like the homecoming show.
yeah, I got to play their hometown.
And then it's funny though because my parents they are huge advocates for Court to join the band.
Okay.
Like I'll put it this way, I'm my parents' least favorite member of the band. And
that's awesome.
they were so excited to hear we were doing a High River show, and then they didn't show up because they had to go to a wedding.
Oh
wow. That
no.
happens,
So
right?
of course they couldn't make it. Yeah, and then actually like Court's parents came, my parents actually came, so it would have like they all would have like met each
My brother
other.
showed up. I keep forgetting that he showed up.
Yeah, he came to
He's
our
a
Lethbridge
weird
show
ass
too.
kid.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But it was good. But yeah, we just played like the fundraiser, but that was good. We're recording right now. We've been
I was
taking
just
our
gonna ask.
time this year. Yeah. So again, with COVID, it kind of delayed us at the beginning of the year a few times. We got drums done right away, but then there was like I got COVID like a couple times at the beginning of the year. And
Oh shit.
other things and stuff, and then this month I'm going to be finishing vocals, so we just have vocals to get done. And
Nice.
so we should be done all the tracking hopefully by the end of the month, and then
Are you guys gonna release any
awesome.
singles or just the album right away?
I'm not sure. I was gonna do the whole album, but then the singles, we did that last time where I just released the singles one at a time. But I know too, it's weird on our Spotify because the way that I had it set up, like it won't let you put it under the same album as a single, right? So then, yeah, it's
I'm
not
kind of
grouped as
leaning
an
towards
album
the
on
whole
it.
album.
So yeah, we might just do the whole album. Say screw it. Maybe
That-
we'll do
yeah.
like a teaser with one or something.
Fair.
Yeah.
If we're excited or.
I think that's like that's like the hardest thing for being a band nowadays is trying to keep up with the constant change of the platforms
Yeah,
while maintaining being an artist.
yeah. I think it's crazy because like I just think like you're just a musician, like you just play, right? It's just about play, and then there's just so much more to it when you're in a band,
Yeah.
like networking
It's
and
like crash course
like
business.
yeah, you learn all that stuff
Mm-hmm.
totally. And content, you gotta have content, or you gotta
Yeah. How many songs are on the album?
It'll be 5. It'll just be a short one.
Nice.
Yeah, EP, but I
I
think
think
that's the way to
EPs are.
go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think EPs are the way to go. I
Yeah,
don't think people have like the listening attention span
yeah,
anymore to listen to like an 11, 13 track album.
yeah,
They get like 4 songs in and they're like, okay, I like the album, but I'm gonna go to something else. But I
yeah,
definitely see the like the progression is changing,
yeah,
even from what it was during COVID to what it is now. The way that we have to market our music is so different.
yeah,
And
definitely.
it's almost going back to that old school way where like the only way to make money is by traveling and having merch and
Yes,
constantly pushing things.
yeah. Well, and that's what I always thought it was. Yeah, like
Mhm.
that's what I think you have to do. You gotta play shows. You gotta, yeah.
Yeah,
But it
there's
is like
this. It's a weird like misconception. I feel that like bands are so focused on spreading globally on social media that they're really not focusing locally. So when they perform a show locally, no one shows up, and they're like, "Well, why
yeah,
don't we have any fans?"
yeah, yeah.
Because you're not really doing the work, the leg ground, like the groundwork you need to
Exactly.
do locally.
Yeah, just going to that show. It means so much. Even if it's not a packed,
Hmm.
house, like you'll get a handful of people that might like your stuff, and then you come back again, and you'll get more, and it spreads more. Yeah, you do more if you can go. I think. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's always
I've
such
noticed too. Oh, go ahead, Norm.
it's always such positive vibes at shows too, like everyone's always so amped. They're like just like, yeah, you guys had a great set, and you're just like, fuck yeah, like check us out
Yeah.
on social media, please.
I love that. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think go to Edmonton and everybody was they're so nice and so supportive. We love Rendezvous Pub in Edmonton.
Fuck yeah.
And then out at the Slice in Lethbridge too. Everybody's so supportive and stuff. And they got great scenes there, like Medicine Hat, their little, city scenes they're really good
Yeah.
and supportive of each other. It's great.
No, it's super cool to see. I think that's the hardest thing is like when you're trying to get your name out as a local band in the first place, because when we were high school bands, for example, it was easy because you're in high school and you had all these people to reach out to, right? But now, because we focus so much on social media, I find like getting back into the community and trying to spread the word is the hardest thing.
Mhm.
Like where that's what I'm focusing on right now is trying to like what I've noticed from our local shows is there's a ton of other bands showing up
Yeah.
to support, but we're still trying to get that walk in and the listening crowd to come. And
Yeah.
it is getting there, but I think it's just getting into the communities as a metal community is the hardest because there's a big wall there most of the time between like the city supporting these genres of music
Yeah.
versus others, right? So I think our biggest challenge is like musicians, besides obviously the content, because that's how can you constantly be putting out content
Yeah.
unless you're like a fucking genius with comedy or something, right? Or you're basically ripping on anything that's popular. But
Yeah.
I think the like getting out there into the communities and like I think what we have to do is kind of like show that our community is very supportive. Like that's why I love what Sloan did with the all ages shows. Because when we were playing at Decimate, there was like a 5-year-old kid, or maybe even younger. He was on a tether, and he was in the mosh pit. And like I'm watching Norm like body check these dudes, and then all of a sudden like tap this little kid in the mosh pit, right? Like you don't see that where we're from in BC because all ages shows don't exist.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
that us reaching out into the communities and putting on all ages shows kind of just shows that we're more supportive for the
Yeah.
community, then in turn they'll be more supportive for our community.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and when I was growing up, when we were like 14 or whatever, they would have like shows. They would set
Mhm.
up all ages shows, and it would be, yeah, like punk and hardcore. Like it'd just be all sorts of stuff or
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember being in the school or in like the
Chur-
hall and stuff like
yeah,
that, right? And
churches.
then, yeah,
Yeah.
and different things like
That
that.
was
And
that
then,
was the main thing was churches. that's
yeah,
that's
for
what I
some, yeah,
remember,
yeah.
which was funny because like you wouldn't expect a church to support like heavy metal, but they did, which is kind of
Yeah.
funny to me still.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it does seem funny. Actually, we recorded drums in a church or whatever, so
Yeah.
the
Oh
drums are gonna
wow.
sound really good.
I
Ooh.
can imagine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so yeah, I have so at my church, I'm they call it the physical facilities representative, but essentially
Okay.
I'm one of the building managers.
Oh
Okay.
cool.
And so I'm like, I have keys and we need a place to record drums, so let's just go to
Man,
church and do it.
that's
So
wicked.
Yeah, right.
yeah, we're
I
probably
can
going to be doing it again in the future. So
Oh,
Yeah, that'd
if
be
you can
nice.
do
Yeah,
that, do it
hopefully.
every time. Andy's probably, if Andy watches this, he's probably gonna drool over that because that's what we've been trying to find is like a tall, big room, and actually like a church
Yeah,
is a great idea
yeah, right.
because
Yeah,
they'd be more than willing to.
yeah.
Because like
The
they're not
acoustics.
open 24 hours, they're only open for a certain amount of hours and then they're closed down. So
Hmm.
that's actually a great place.
Yeah,
Dance. Think about that.
yeah,
Yeah, totally.
yeah. There you go. Right.
That's a good point. So plans, what do you guys have coming up besides the album?
That'll be that, and then getting merch. Yeah, we'll be probably getting merch, and then or be get ready for some CD release shows and stuff. So we want to make sure we got the CD done, but then I do want to yeah, start setting up some shows and different things like that. We gotta, like I say too, we gotta go back and play Edmonton again and Lethbridge. We haven't been for a while, and Medicine Hat, and I like to go to some new places. And we did a little tour in BC in like 2018 with one of my other lineups.
Okay.
And I really would like to come back. And that was 2020. I was trying to like set up a tour and everything. I was like booking things and all of that. And then like almost ready to like book the ferry or whatever. And then it was like, nope, COVID, stay at home.
Oh
So
no.
I would love to come back out to BC and stuff. We played Munion's Post. And
Yeah.
I
Rest in
love
peace.
that place. And I couldn't believe that they, yeah, shut it down because that was somewhere I really wanted to go and play again.
Yeah, no, Moonins is awesome. We have 2 venues in Kelowna. We have Runaways Lounge, which is the one we've been playing at a lot lately,
Yeah.
and they're doing really well with like they're turning into like a metal bar almost. It seems like a metal venue. And then the other one, I can never remember its name.
Jackknife Brewing.
Thank you, Jackknife
That
Brewing.
sounds familiar. Okay.
They
Yeah.
do shows as well, but they have to do them later shows because they have to close their kitchen completely down to set up the stage. So there's the 2 venues here that are really doing shows for metal. But then we're kind of cracking into the Penticton scene too as well. And they've got a couple venues, which is like Penticton I find has always been the hard one. It's like it's so out of the way or there's no venues for the genre. So it's kind of
Yeah.
cool
Yeah, and it's
to
Yeah.
see that. But
it's Rob and I's hometown too, so we're really looking forward. We're taking Siren there on the 14th of
Yep.
October, so yeah, we're super
Yeah.
stoked for that.
Oh, great.
yeah,
Great.
so it'll be fun. But we'll definitely bring you guys down. That'd be fun.
Yes, I would love to.
yeah, we also talked about going to Duncan, the Duncan showroom.
Drunken Duncan.
Oh, on the island.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
my dad's
Oh,
godfather
right.
owns it.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So yeah, so my dad said that he would talk to him and get all of that set up. We had talked about doing that too, and then
Yeah.
COVID hit. So
Do you guys
And I think that was. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Norm.
do you guys know a band out of Fort McMurray called Volt?
Sounds familiar. Yeah, I think I've heard of like, yeah, one band out in Fort McMurray. Yeah.
You guys got to hit them up there. We met them at Decimate.
Oh,
And they're
yeah.
like,
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like-
I remember their logo on the poster.
yeah,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah,
like
yeah.
instant brothers. Instant, like we're gonna set up a tour with them because James is so funny. I love James.
Oh, that's great. Do we just become best friends?
Right.
That's kind of how it was. We talked about random stuff, and he brought up this topic about emu wars, and I was like, okay, you're my friend. Like the emu wars, we need to talk about this. So we spent
Yeah.
like an hour talking about Australia's emu wars. For anyone watching, go Google that. It's
Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah.
weird stuff. It's weird stuff comes up at festivals. But I was gonna
Definitely.
say, setting up to the island, like the one thing that I think was beneficial of COVID is like all the bands were networking so hard in those pages and the groups, like the metal pages and stuff, like
Yeah.
that. A lot of connections were made, so you can technically like tour through all the towns of BC now
Yeah.
just through networking because you have
Yeah.
Fallen Stars, so many bands out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
Victoria has so many bands
Yeah.
as well, right? So
Yeah. Jade Weeks. Yeah. 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 Oh,
Yeah, we're pretty friendly with Iron Kingdom out of
that's
Oh,
awesome.
sweet.
Shout
Vancouver.
out.
They're
Yeah.
I talk to them pretty regularly.
I
So
love
Yeah.
them.
My
they're
fiance
pretty good.
Ryan for years. Ryan and I showed up at Dickens one night just to go watch a show. We didn't know who was playing, and they were there and they were playing, and we're like, oh my gosh, blew our mind. And
So
then
good.
Ryan got like the Curse of the Voodoo Queen or whatever, and he loves that album. And then we seen them play Blind Beggar, and like Ryan's been telling everyone for years like to listen to them, and they're like, yeah. And then they see them play, and they're like, wow, they're really good. And Ryan's just like, I know. That's what I've been saying.
That's
Like,
the hardest thing too, right? Like you can't really capture the sound of a band on a recording. Like
yeah,
you can do your best, but when you're doing
Yeah.
individual takes, you're not
Yeah.
playing together and you don't have that energy that's flowing through you that creates that magic.
yeah,
So I find listening to an album is like, okay, sweet, this is awesome. This is a professional aspect.
yeah.
But
Well,
seeing
or-
the band is so different.
Yeah.
Like listening to Arrival of Autumn versus seeing them live was mind blowing. Because like I've
Yeah.
listened to them for a long time, but getting to see them work as a group was like, holy crap.
Yeah.
So like, and most bands that I like, you hear them on recordings, and like especially if it's like self-produced, right?
Yeah.
Like we only know so much as musicians. We're not all
Yes.
producers. As much
Yeah.
as we'd like to think like we're engineers, we're not.
Yeah.
We're focused on writing, so we can only do so well, and
Yeah.
that final product really determines what people judge. You know what I mean? So it could be the most technically diverse song ever, but if it's not recorded well, people don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
then
or
you
even
do that live, right?
or even just to get some people to listen to new music, or it's just something different, like just
It's
recommending a
so
new band to
challenging.
someone. Listen to it. It's
Mhm.
right here. Like save
Yeah.
it for later. Listen to it. Yeah.
It's so challenging to get people to listen to new bands. Like my
Yeah.
favorite thing is when someone's like, "Oh, you're in a band? Show me your song," and then you like show them a song, and 10 seconds in, they're like, turn to the person talking, and you're like, "Okay," you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
it's like it happens so frequently, and I don't think people realize it's just kind of like a stab to the heart.
yeah,
Like,
definitely.
you won't even give 10 seconds to it, but I
All
think it's the
right.
attention spans, right?
Definitely. Or I have it too, where like I want to see the band, but then you want to visit people, or someone's like talking to you while you're trying to watch the band, and you don't want to
Yeah.
be rude, and you're just like,
It is, and
I'm-
I think live performance is really what makes a band, because anybody could technically
Yeah.
write a good album. Like
Yeah.
Blue Oyster Cult can write great music. Can they perform it live? Not really that good. So there's bands that write amazing music, and there's bands that are meant to be performers.
yeah,
And I think that like performing is what makes people fall in love with the artist. Like you can try and
Yeah.
promote your album as much as you want, but unless they fall in love with you, they're not
Yeah.
going to listen to the music.
That's why Kiss got as big as they
Yeah.
did,
yeah,
right? You know,
So-
like I'm a huge Kiss fan.
Yeah.
Like I have both of Gene Simmons' basses. Like I'm a huge, but if you look at it, like their music is pretty damn simple,
Oh, it
Yeah.
is.
you know. But if you go and watch their show with the pyrotechnics
Yeah.
and the lights and them wearing 8-inch heels and
Yeah.
still managing to jump 3 feet in the air, it's like
it's a
Mind
theatrical
blowing,
event.
Yeah,
it's a theatrical
yeah,
event.
it's not a
It's
it's more
whole
than just a
performance.
concert. It's like this. It's a
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
So
well,
I love Alice Cooper. Love
Yes.
him.
Yes. No, there's something to like when you watch Fallen Stars perform live. they are so entertaining to watch because their guitar players are moving around all over the place, and you got Jade moving around, and they're all back to back playing. You know what I mean? Like, then you got Rose
Yeah.
like breaking through them and starts singing. So like they're very theatrical to watch, and then you get some bands that just stand there and play because they're so focused on hitting perfection. But like, that's not what live music's about.
Yeah,
Fuck up. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Like
Yeah.
hit a wrong note, headbang.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
that's
right?
why people fall in love with you. Like I can
Yeah.
honestly say all summer I've fucked up at least one song per performance because I was going too hard. Like whether it's oh shit, I'm supposed to be singing here, or like I fucked up the guitar riff. But
Oh,
like
yeah. It's always a balancing act. Yeah, and
Yeah.
especially singing and playing. Yeah.
yeah, no, so like but like people don't care when it's live.
Yeah.
You know, like that imperfection is kind of like what made even in the old recordings, those little imperfections is what made those songs legendary. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah,
think we're
right.
like, as artists, we're a little too focused on making our songs so crisp and clean, like pop music.
Well, yeah, or I think too, yeah, that has happened with more modern metal and like the awesome like technical death metal. They're just so hard and it's just so perfect and so perfectly recorded, and it's just everything that it almost is too perfect and shiny and stuff. It's nice to
We need to go back to the black metal days.
yeah.
where
I
it's
still I
recorded
know
on,
some
like,
of those
that 4-track or that 8-track.
garage recording, yeah, just the punk and black metal, yeah, right. Like there's
Could you
nothing wrong
imagine?
with that.
My old jazz instructor would say if the audience didn't hear it, it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if like so he would tell us that to try and get us to play our parts better.
Yeah.
Because it's like he would be like, Connor, you have an important part here and you need to be louder because nobody heard it. So as far as I'm concerned, it never happened.
Mhm.
But I turned that around to make it so it's mistakes too, right?
That's exactly
You know,
what it is.
I go see shows, I see my buddies, and they're like, "Oh man, I fucked up on this one song." I'm like, I didn't notice. Nobody else noticed, and so therefore it did not happen.
Yeah.
Just live in denial.
Yeah.
No.
Ignorance is bliss.
Absolutely.
No, it's very true.
So I ran into the exact opposite of what we're all talking about this past summer, or when did we do Fallen Fest?
In the beginning of the summer.
So
it was like May something.
Yeah, so I'd heard a band that I played with later on in the evening, and their recordings weren't the greatest, not the most stellar recordings, but live they came through.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I love that aspect, you know, where it's just like you kind of like almost write a band off. You're like, okay, yeah, I've heard this recording or whatever before. You're like, no, I'm not into it. And then you see them live and you're like, oh wow, they're actually killer.
Yeah, and that's what I was trying to say. It's really hard to capture that sound that bands generate when you're not engineers, right? Like
and it's so expensive, man. There's a reason they're poor musicians, man.
Yep. Yeah,
Totally.
It's definitely not a cheap I like to say not a cheap hobby.
Yeah.
Like people are like, oh yeah, you just like you must make tons of money. It's like, no, dude, like half the time you walk away losing money. And you already spent like $2,000 on a guitar, $4,000 on an amp. You know what I mean? Like the investment versus reward, like it really doesn't turn out unless you turn it into a business. And I think it's been the hardest thing for me to accept in the past 2 years is like having to turn something I love and a passion of mine into a business because I want to use it to live on, right? So and I think a lot of bands get lost in that because we're not business people unless you like you work in retail and understand how things work, but it's basically what we are as a business. As soon as you sign up to be in a band, however many members you have, like that's your partners to your business, and you have to kind of treat it that way, right?
Yeah.
And that's what's hard with musicians, because I find the most talented musicians are most of the time the laziest.
Yeah.
They you know, they're so gifted that they don't really want to put the time in.
Shy and like just like super hypercritical because you are your own art, and then I find that's really weird too. Or I used to laugh like Ink Master. I thought was a hilarious show, or it was awesome because I just feel like artists are more introverted. So you got all these introverted artists, but then they're all being like talking shit and like it's all like big competition. And I just
Yeah.
feel like that's out of character for a lot of like true artists or
Yeah.
whatever, or some.
No,
Yeah.
it's true. I mean, we interviewed a creative and divergent thinking coach over the summer for one of our shows, and I think it was one of the coolest interviews I've ever done because understanding how creatives and hyper focused creatives work really made me look at every other musician and realize like we are all so similar in the sense that we get hyper focused on like writing music and performing that we kind of like forget to do things naturally in life because we're so focused as artists. You know what I mean? Like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I should have like done laundry today, or things that normal people do where like I kind of myself personally I will forget because I'm constantly trying to be creative. And I find there's a lot of other artists that I've talked to over the summer that are kind of the same way,
Yeah.
where we're always so focused on this weird connection. It's hard to describe in words the feeling that you get when you're a musician and you
Oh
play with
yeah.
other musicians. It's there is no words to describe that. When you close your eyes and you're all playing together, there's a weird telepathy that goes. Like you automatically know, oh shit, the drummer's gonna screw up this next bar. So you all kind of like get ready for it automatically. And I find that you see that weird synchronicity between all bands and musicians is that they have this weird connection with each other that I don't think people will understand. And it's because of that creative mind where we think differently. We're
Yeah.
completely different beings.
Yeah.
Like it's hard to describe, but like
Yeah.
the interview was really mind blowing for me to the point where I
Yeah.
was just like, wow,
Yeah.
completely changed my perspective.
But that's what they say, like neurodivergent people or whatever, like pick up on other neurodivergent people like immediately, like in a millisecond, like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, you're weird, I'm weird. Oh, we're perfect friends, or like
Right?
immediate friends. Like, I don't know.
No, it's
Yeah.
very true.
And then other people like, that person's weird. I don't know what it is, but that person's weird. And it's just because some of us are different or we think differently or yeah.
No, it's very true. Musicians are a weird animal. I find that we're all multi-gifted at tons of different things, whether it be like, oh, good at guitar, but also good at drawing, or also good at this and also good at that. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not even good at bass, so I'm just.
Me neither, brother. Me
Well, yeah.
neither.
As long as you're better than Sid Vicious, right? He was huge, and Sid
Yep.
Vicious can
like
play
Nikki
with
Sixx,
crap.
they turned off his apps for years. They just let him stand there with a bass and look cool.
That's an oxymoron. You can't stand with a bass and look cool.
No more bass shame, man. No more bass shame.
It's not shame if it's the truth.
Oh shit. Oh no. Too good. That's hilarious.
Connor, when you were talking about playing in jazz in school or whatever, did you play bass in jazz band, or were you on a different instrument?
No. I was lead tenor saxophone for years.
Sweet.
They refused to let me play bass.
Oh, nice.
Like,
really?
They flat out refused. Yeah. They're like, oh, we have a bass player. And I'm like, yeah, but you have 2 drummers, you have 2 guitar players, you have 2 everything except a bass player. Why won't you guys let me play bass? I've been taking lessons. I can read the music. Like, I'm not just some dude who picked up a bass and like I played. Like, I'm a trained bass player.
Yeah.
I know my music theory, I know everything. And they're just like, no, we want you to play saxophone. And I'm like, and don't get me wrong, I love saxophone. Like, I had a great time playing it, but.
And then just pulling out these bleeding gums riffs.
My nickname in middle school was Lisa Simpson, actually, because I was always soloing on my saxophone.
Stanky jazz sound.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, in jazz band, I played lead tenor, except one year they put me on baritone saxophone. That was a lot of fun.
Okay.
Oh,
And then in symphonic band, I played the clarinet.
Oh, trippy.
Yeah, so
that's a total change up.
Yeah, well, I got to grade 9, and I assumed I was going to be playing saxophone in symphonic band. And they're like, no, we got enough saxophone players. Do you want to play? So you can either play flute or clarinet.
Mm.
And I'm like, seriously? And they're like, yeah. I'm like,
I'll take clarinet.
you won't let me play bass. You won't let me play sax. What do you guys want from me?
Right.
So I ended up choosing the clarinet, and that was a pretty good choice because the inventor of the saxophone was a clarinetist, so they're very similar instruments.
Okay,
I was
okay.
gonna say you can by the
Yeah.
way the reed's set up and the way they play is pretty similar.
Yeah.
As for a flute, you're like, it's like so weird.
Oh man, if
Well,
I had
that's not
played the flute,
proper
my
posture.
dad would have never let me forget it. But yeah, no, playing clarinet actually ended up being the better choice because for a few years there, they're like, Connor, you're good at clarinet. We're gonna send you to the honor band. I'm like, oh, that's cool.
With
I don't even
clarinet?
like this instrument, but that's cool. Yeah, with clarinet.
Sweet.
So
Are the
wicked.
notes set up the same?
yeah, well, I mean, kind
Well,
of. So
I don't think
the
the finger parts
clarinet
do.
is typically pitched in B flat.
Oh, okay.
And then tenor saxophone is E. No, that's alto. Honestly, I don't remember. I think it's B flat as well, actually.
I think so too. Yeah.
But it's weird though because if you play like a G on a saxophone, you have to have these three fingers down, right here.
Yeah.
Right on a clarinet, it's open. Right, you're not playing anything. But if you go into an upper register and all three down, then it is like a G. It's really weird on how it works, but I don't even know if that's right. Like it's been so long since I've played either one. Out of high school, I wanted to buy a saxophone right away, and they're like, "Yeah, $4,000 for like a decent saxophone," and I'm like, "I'm gonna just stick with my bass guitar."
Totally.
You can get a pretty solid bass guitar for about $600.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So yeah, but my background is very like I've always like my parents raised me on heavy metal, but like I'm very much jazz influenced, jazz and big band kind of stuff. Like one of my favorite bass players is a guy Jaco Pastorius.
Yeah.
Really early fusion kind of stuff. You put fretless bass on the map, and like it's weird. I go from listening to like Jaco Pastorius or like Count Basie and Duke Ellington. All right. And then, next track over, oh, here's some Death Clock and some Iron Maiden, so just all over the place. Although I've seen it, good music's good music, no matter what the genre is.
Yeah.
There's top 20 shit that I absolutely love and really get into, it's
Kind of that good bass and drum and stuff. Yeah.
Just good music's good music, and people just gotta realize that doesn't matter what genre, doesn't matter what artist. Like, yeah, there's shitty artists out there that shouldn't be as big as they are, but if somebody likes them and their music speaks to them, then all the power to them.
No, amen to that. I just have a personal hard time with getting into like pop and country. Well, at least modern country. I always say country because I'm really bad at this, and all my friends call me out on it because like modern day country because I love like Loretta Lynn, Johnny Cash, like
outlaw country.
Like I love the storytelling. I just have now called that folk because it kind of just falls into like that folk to me. As we're like listening to like I call them the double first namers, like the Jack John and the Luke Bryans, and like you can just like every time I hear that I'm just like, hey, but it all sounds so the same. And like you have country artists from like Washington sounding like they're from Texas and just putting on this fake accent. And what drives me nuts is like me writing like reggae with a Jamaican accent. People would look at me like, what are you doing? That's how I look at it, is just be yourself and write the music. If you're putting on this fake persona, I'm instantly going to hate it.
Yeah.
So like it's a weird thing for me because like I do enjoy the melodic aspects behind some country music. Like there's a lot of it. It's more just the vocals and the vocal content. I feel like it's very like McDonald's food. There's no sustenance to it. That's what I call it. McDonald's music. It's just kind of like eat this and deal with your day.
Yeah.
Yeah, very processed.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I get that. Like, there is some country. Like, I like Johnny Cash too. Like all those guys. I even named my dog after Johnny Cash.
Nice.
And but yeah, there's some country, like growing up in High River, like country music's huge in High River. You know, small town.
Yeah.
You know, like George Canyon's from High River, right? Like
Okay.
it's big. It's a big deal there. So you know, there is like I got a bit of a weakness for Carrie Underwood. You know, that's because this girl I was seeing was really into her, got me into it. But you know, Alan Jackson, I really like, but he's old. He's been around since the '80s, I think.
Yeah,
So.
he has one song that makes me fucking piss myself laughing. It's like something fried chicken, and I fucking cry laughing every time I hear it. I'm like, I love this shit. It's like funny as hell, but it's like it's good, and like I can
Yeah.
admit that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm okay with that, but like
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I know the song you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't listen to country. My mom was always like, "Play, you gotta play, because that's what's popular here, or you gotta
Yeah.
steak eating and all that." And I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, just because I'm from Alberta doesn't mean I love country."
Right. I was raised on
Yeah.
like I was raised on such a weird, diverse. Like my mom sings
Yeah.
in blues bands,
Oh,
so like I grew up
cool.
going to her
Yeah.
band practices and listening to her sing like Melissa Etheridge and like
Oh yeah.
Tracy Chapman and like
Yeah.
so many songs, and then she would kill like the Rolling Stones or Tom Petty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like I was
Totally.
raised on like Tom Petty is my favorite artist of all time.
Oh yeah.
It's very country oriented in a sense
Yeah.
where it's got a lot of relaxation and like he talks about the storytelling in his songs, right? Like
Mhm.
Yeah.
he's my guilty pleasure,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
being raised on that kind of led the way I write music. Is very
Yeah.
storytelling.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I think they call
I like
Tom
that too.
Petty. They call it Heartland Rock.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
he's got a
Yes.
unique aspect to him, and then like you listen to like my mom also was addicted to like 90s rock, so like Counting Crows, and, like
Yeah.
Tragically Hip. So like the generation that my mom raised me on was like she really wasn't into metal,
Yeah.
but it was rock oriented. So I fell in love with
Yeah.
instruments, and then my cousin corrupted me. He showed me like Megadeth and like In Flames and Slayer and shit, and that's when I was like, oh, okay, like this is music. So
Yeah.
from like 10 years old, I was on, but like it's cool how what we are raised to listen to kind of influences like as artists what we write in the future and what we
Yeah.
that taste we have, because like being raised on metal kind of like hearing the technicality and musicianship of musicians, then you get into fusion jazz and you're hearing
Mhm.
these bassists go fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Like as a bass player, I can imagine that would inspire. You know what I mean? Like for
Yeah.
me as a drummer, some of my favorite drummers aren't even metal. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? They're like
Yeah.
samba players.
Yeah.
They're like crazy like drummers that you wouldn't even think about, but like the
Yeah.
way the music hits you. It's
Well,
just
that's
like
like they said like the starters of rock are different things, like Cream, like the drummer, is it Ginger
Oh,
Baker
yeah,
or
Ginger
whatever?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Baker.
he's hilarious.
Ginger
But
Baker.
such a
they
good
always say,
documentary.
"Oh, he's a rock drummer," and he's like, "No, oh yeah, I love that one." I always use that reference, like, "Don't put my fucking music in a box," like,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't want to get forced into a hole here or a corner.
Yeah.
But
No, it's
he's
good.
like, "No, I'm playing jazz. I'm playing jazz." And then same thing, Black Sabbath. I love them, and they're starter of metal, but there's a lot of jazz drumming and stuff in there, and like,
Yeah, it
yeah,
really makes me
really
like when you
good.
think that aspect, it's kind of cool to think like what is our generation of music can inspire like 10 years, 20 years down the road,
Yeah,
right? Because like I feel there's a weird decline in music that has actual instruments over the last
yeah,
10 years. You know what I mean? So like younger generations aren't actually seeing this. So are they gonna pick these instruments up if we're not being shown?
yeah,
Mm.
So like
yeah,
then you have like these weird electronic metal bands. So it's like it is kind of still
yeah,
being incorporated. But I feel like you get to a point of just like listening to electronic music and pop
yeah.
music, and you eventually
Well,
want to
then
branch out.
maybe it is just like the trends of way things goes, because I think was towards the end of the 80s it got super like synth
Yep.
pop, and right, all the
Mhm.
keyboards and the different electronic sounds and weird
Yeah,
sounds.
even Iron
And then
Maiden
what,
got a
and then
synth in the
90s
90s.
I think was pulled back a lot, right? And then you went more grunge and you were just wearing
Yeah.
whatever,
It's
and
like a 30-year progression.
yeah,
Every like 30 years it goes back and it continues, and then it's just it just completely evolves. But it's cool to see because like I watch, like I'm a total YouTube geek, so I watch like a lot of random like unique instruments that are being created now, And like you see some of these electronic guitars that are just mind blowing, and I'm like, oh man, I can imagine what bands can make with those.
Right?
Yeah, I recently discovered a Whamola, and I'm like, where the hell has this been all of my life?
Right? Have you seen Fast Hands? I think they're called.
No, I only discovered it through Les Claypool
Oh, okay.
from Primus.
Yeah.
I don't like Primus. I'll be the first. I don't like Primus.
Oh, come
Their music's
on.
not my thing.
I appreciate
They're
Primus.
funny.
I
He's-
agree.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
I kind of think that Les Claypool is the edge of bass players.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh, I wouldn't.
but I was watching the South Park 25th anniversary show, and he pulled out this Whamola thing, he called it, and I'm like, what the hell is that thing? It sounds so cool. So yeah, I might buy one. Just letting you know, I might buy one. We'll just completely change. Our
What is
sound.
it?
I'm gonna get a
Yeah.
Whamola.
What does it do?
It's like, so it's like this big metal rod. There's like
Okay.
a string, and you hit the string, and then there's this like a lever that you push and pull, right?
Yeah.
And it makes this like sound. It's
Oh,
really,
cool.
and you hit it's really freaking great. Like he uses it in the South Park theme song, like the newer one.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I look it up. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and that makes me
Crazy.
want it.
You should check out. I think they're called Hot Hands. So what it is, it's like a MIDI controller for the sound waves of your guitar. So you have this pedal that you plug into, and then you have this like ring that you wear. And then when you play over it, you can actually make like dubstep wobbles and like weird, crazy electronic sounds with it. And like, fuck, man, some of the stuff like you see some of the guitar players on YouTube and the bass players doing is just like, what? Because they'll go from like this crazy metal bass line just to like a drop, like a breakdown, but it's like boom, blah, 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 and just like you're like, what the fuck? And it's done on a guitar.
Yeah.
And you're like, holy
Yeah.
shit! Like, yes, please, let's
Yeah.
see this come reality. Because like, I think using electronic elements with real instruments is like that's mind blowing to me.
Yeah,
That's
that's
next level.
always great. I love that. Well, that's even like a Plague Bringer. I'm pretty sure they've got that extra low tone that they hit there too and
Right.
push out, and that's great.
Yeah,
that's true.
I can appreciate that. Sometimes though, the traditionalist in me is like, I see these guys with these massive pedals, these huge layouts, right? Especially a bass player, and I'm like, at what point do you stop being the bass player?
Yeah.
No, like
it
was like
it's very true.
Like I was ingrained in my head from like 10, 11 years old, the musical pyramid and where the bass fits. Like my pet, like
it's the
I never
foundation
tried
of
to
the
be-
music, all right?
Yeah, but then you start going in all these crazy effects, right? And that's why I don't like Primus.
Yeah.
Fair.
Is like, well,
Yeah.
He's not really a bass player. He's like my pedal is for because I have an overdrive, a wah, and a tuner pedal. And I still think that's a little excessive.
I love the sound of wah on a bass though.
Yeah.
It's fucking magical.
Yeah, right? But like as a guitar player, I'm like, yeah, have all the effects you want. That's so fucking cool.
Right?
But as a bass player, I'm like, no, man, you're the bass player. Don't get ahead of yourself, bro.
Dude,
all right.
I love that though, because like I don't like using any effects when I play guitar. Like no chorus, no flange. I think that shit's all like, to me, that's like using chorus, flange, phaser. For me personally, feels very amateur, just because it's like what you would do when you first get a guitar. You're like, oh, cool, phaser, and you're like, wow, wow. You know what I mean? Like, I can't find where they fit in to songs personally. Like, I've seen players who use them that make them sound incredible, but I'm like, I have no fucking clue where I would use this. So like a mild delay, that's all I need, and a lot of distortion, that's like clean. But I find like you do get going out a little too much, and it's almost like you're not playing guitar anymore. You're almost turning it into like this weird new instrument. Like I love Rob.
Cough the edge, cough.
Yeah, like if you have you ever seen the Rob Scallion world record of pedals played, and he puts all these pedals on and then he plays, and the sound is like, what the hell? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's for me personally, it was a big build up for like, okay, that's not what I expected. Like it's just like 100 pedals. does not sound good.
I think I seen a video of Buddy put like 6 metal zones on. He just kept on adding. He had like so many.
Heavier. It needs to be heavier.
Not brutal enough. Why don't I just kill myself? Would that be brutal enough for you?
Right. Just 30 distortion pedals. The end of it, it's just fucking like ear-piercing squelches. Yeah. No, it's,
Feedback.
I definitely see like not a regression, but like technology can only take you so far with your music, and the actual like musicianship is like what's needed. Because like looping stations and stuff, they're like super cool to see. Like when you see a single artist like Dub Effects, who like beatboxes and loops his stuff and then creates a song on the spot. But I find like it's really hard to add like loop stations into live performances.
Yeah.
Like when you're playing with other people, unless you're like playing to a click track and like other like weird effects that you like I have on my amp and stuff, that I'm just like, who would use this and how would you use this? It kind of just like, it's like, yeah, you keep making these effects, but like they're kind of pointless after a certain point in my mind. Like,
or it is that extra energy, right? So then you're like, oh, you got to set up this and then the other tracks, and then you got to set it up on your computer or the interface, and then you got to make sure the sound guy's got all the stuff and he knows when to put that track on, or like whatever, or if there's a delay or something, you might be off. Or like,
you got to make sure that you're keeping it entertaining for the fans as well, you know, right? While you're trying to set up your next loop and the people are just like, okay, like where's the song going or whatever.
Yeah. No, it's I love the way like it's a bit of a segue, but like when you're writing that initial like, oh, this is a really cool riff, and then you hand it to the bassist. And the bassist comes up with this cool thing. You know what I mean? Like that build of the natural sound is like my favorite. Instead of like adding all that. Like I love the sound of metal with like clean delayed guitars. You know, it just sounds so elegant and beautiful. You don't need to add a lot of effects. It almost takes away from that pure sound. Same with like vocals. Like a lot of artists nowadays are overusing auto-tune even though they don't need to. And it totally just like destroys that genuine sound of what you're capable of doing.
Bro.
Like I've had friends
rawness.
Or like I've had friends who hate playing with distortion because it hides your mistakes. You know,
That's why you should play with distortion.
Exactly, right? But like, you know what I mean? Like for practicing, they don't like to practice with distortion so that they actually hear and get better at what they're doing. And a lot of people just kind of like do cover it up, their mistakes with that. And it's just the musicianship, I think, really determines the quality, right? Like, and not musicianship like how great you can play, but like your ability to work with others musically.
Yeah,
right. You can be the best player in the world, but like if you can't work with a band, doesn't mean anything.
Totally.
Yeah,
I think Rob said it best last night too. You know, the four of us that are in Storm the Empire, we're no one without each other. You know, we're just single musicians.
Yeah, we all suck unless we're together.
I wouldn't say that, but
that's what I said. Like we're all shit unless we're together.
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons I've been able to stay in Spit of the Sin for so long, like I said, it's been 4 years, right? Is that me and Sasha work really well together. Like when I joined, you know, like, you know, I could tell a little bit of apprehension there, but I'm like, oh yeah, no, I know theory, like I know all of this. And Sasha went to school for it, right? So when we're talking about scales and key signatures and stuff like that, you know, we read each other perfectly because we know what.
And you have a good taste in music. I didn't want a bass player where I had, because I've been in like other bands and stuff, where I had to feel like I didn't want to write the bass lines. I didn't want to have to like teach the bass player how to play bass or anything. They got to be able to, you know, write lines themselves, and then we can work on them or whatever, or like. And then also just that, gotta love Death Clock and stuff like that. Or my rules. Or
there's a few requirements, a few quid pro quos, you know.
Like some heavy stuff, Like I think I listen to more, like I listen to everything, but I think I listen to more of the hardcore and death metal than the other guys in the band. He's more power metal,
power, symphonic, and
metal,
classic metal.
And then the drummer is really into like prog metal and stuff like that.
Yeah, but
which
like
is
we
great.
all still have like our favorite bands. Like we all love Iron Maiden. We all love Death Clock. You know, we all
Lamb of God,
yeah.
Black Dahlia Murder. I love those.
Yeah,
guys.
like we all still do like the same. No, we got a good back and forth. You know, me and Sasha, it's worked out really well for us, and you know, Court, like because of the friendship me and Court has, he's been able, like all three of us, like it's pretty great, you know.
And then
it's
and then
good
we're
thing.
writing now
Yeah,
together finally.
all three of
because
us are
for
writing together.
most of the part, I was writing the melody and the lyrics and everything, and like they were kind of like pre-made songs, or I had already written them and stuff like that. And then now we actually like Agincourt was one of the first where it was like where Connor was in and stuff like that, where it's his idea for the song. I wrote the lyrics and the melody as well, but like
Nice.
you know, more collaboration. And then we've got another one we're just kind of finishing up that's got that, and then we've all got our own ideas, so it's really nice to finally, like, I've been wanting to just work on new stuff, so we're finally here.
Yeah,
so
I'm trying to write lyrics. You know, I think that I write lyrics like a third grader, but I'm trying.
We all start somewhere,
Yeah,
and
me
who
too,
knows
brother.
too, if it's heavy, you know, if you sing it heavy, it doesn't matter what you're saying. Or I always thought that too, like I don't want to just be like evil, but right, you could be positive, but then like, oh, would people like a positive metal, like singing it heavy, but it's about something positive? But I think I heard the one All Shall Perish song, and it's almost like, you know, like it's positive, or it's like, you know, mess with me, or it could be like a, you know, sad song, but they're singing it with like death vocals, or Fry singing it, so it's like that's metal, that's heavy, man, right? Or you know.
No, yeah, I think that like lyrics for metal is a weird topic in the sense that like a lot of people think, I agree, like a lot of people think it needs to be brutal, and like it doesn't really. Some of my favorite songs, like I can right now, Low by Wage War. The song is so upfront about just being depressed and upset, you know what I mean? Like it almost is perfect because it's just genuine, it's real.
Yeah, right.
Like you don't need to hide. Like this is my biggest crutch as a lyricist, and what I've noticed as over my entire career as a musician is my lyrics are way too metaphorical and story based that people don't get it. They don't care. You know what I mean? Like they can't relate to it. And I find that relation is really why we fell in love with music, right? Like we fell in love with Maiden because we loved that fantasy. That was what we're looking for, right? But like a lot of people nowadays aren't really into that, I find. They're like more realistic. So they want
to connect, more personable, or that's how they like attach to your band, is they get that connection and stuff.
So like they may seem like third grade lyrics, but they're like they could be the most like influential lyrics that somebody hears. You know what I mean? And like is like, holy fuck, this is what I need. And I kind of that's what I had to teach myself, is like maybe step back a bit and not act like you're this like I'm the greatest writer of all time, but like just like kind of write what you're feeling.
And I've had that too with some songs that I wasn't sure about, or I liked them, or I was like, oh, maybe they're a little bit more like sappy or whatever, depressive. And you know, I did my own little EP of just my own stuff a long time ago, and like there was one song, and it was about someone that died or whatever, but like I didn't know if anyone would like it. But one of my best friends, or she's like, that's like my favorite song on that CD, and I'm like, oh, no way. Or like there's like Take It Away that's going to be on the new album, or some of the other songs that have like, oh, they might not be heavy or whatever, but like I think they're really cool. And then to hear from,
it's one of my favorite songs to
Connor's
play.
like, that's like one of my favorite to play. It's like, that's awesome, because I was not sure about it, or like, am I the only one that like it? But there's always, you know, these days I think there's someone will like it too, or whatever, right? Like you'll find your people. It's about finding the people that like the same thing.
Vocalists are the hardest on themselves by far. No other musician will be harder, because they constantly hear themselves and they're like, ugh, gross, like, or like my lyrics aren't good enough. And like if people can relate to WAP, they'll relate to anything you write. Like, you know what I mean? Like we live in a weird world where like they're just hearing it, they're just listening. So like we need to give them something to listen to and to speak and that speaks to them, not just like, I don't even know what to call it without sounding like a total dick, but like garbage, you know what I mean? Like we need to start giving people a reason to want to listen and to want to change the listener's mentality. And I think that a lot of the up and coming bands are the ones doing that, because like you have bands like, I love Eskimo Callboy or Electric Callboy, sorry, but like, you know what I mean? Like, it's so overplayed, and like it's only gonna last for so long. It's a
Yeah.
fad, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
bad music out there right now.
Yeah.
They're just
Exactly.
riding the
Yeah.
train. But like, as we were talking with for our TV show over the summer, we talked with Kevin Moore, who is a graphic designer for Rise Records. So he's done the artwork for like Spirit Box, Of
Oh.
Mice and Men, and like himself, we were talking about it, and like there's a weird change in the music industry where like when we were growing up, it was young people getting signed because they were the cream of the crop, but their music wasn't really there. You know what I mean? Like, it was catchy. It was like what we would have written when we were 15, you know, but the musicianship wasn't there. And their labels are less focused on that, and people are less focused on that. They're more focused on the musicianship now. So you see a lot of older bands who are like in their 40s getting picked up and becoming major bands because they have something that these younger crowds don't have, musicianships, and that's talent, years, and dedication. And I find that there's a lot of bands who have been working at it for 20, 30 years that are now just getting picked up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, the biggest setback I think that musicians have is we think that we're have to do it at a certain age, by a certain age. You know what I mean? Like, we have to get signed, we have to make it big by the time we're 30. It's like, no, you really don't. Like,
Yeah.
Maynard was 36 when Tool got picked up.
Yeah.
Now look how successful Maynard is. He's in 3 of the biggest bands on the planet. He owns a winery. The dude's insane, right? Like, he's a prime example.
I don't know who that is. I'm sorry.
Maynard from Tool.
Tool.
The lead singer of
Tool.
Tool. Oh, fair enough. He's
They're great though. Yeah.
he was a lot older than most people expected when they first got picked up in the 90s, and now he's like, he's made himself really successful, and it's just because the dedication and the hard work, right? And I think that's the key as artists.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and I think too, it does take a long time. Like when I was growing up, I was like, you hear about these big bands like Aerosmith and stuff like that, but like they didn't become famous after the first album. Like it wasn't until like 5 albums later or whatever. Like I think it still takes a decade before you maybe even get any recognition or fame or whatever at whatever level. But I always thought that too. Like, you got to do it younger. They're so young, right? So I I graduated school a year early. Like went to outreach so that I could, I was like, gotta finish school, but I'll try and do it. Get out of here as quick as I can, right? So I can just get at it and try and work and like build my way up and like.
I heard that even after Lamb of God released and toured Ashes of the Wake, they were coming back to day jobs.
Yep. Yeah, like
that blew my mind. I was like, what? No way.
Yeah.
A lot of bands had a different name before they got picked up.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't sell with Burn the Priest.
Yeah.
So they changed it to Lamb of God.
Yeah.
But like they were Burn the Priest for a while. I think it was like 4 or like 5 to 6 years or something like that before Lamb of God was even what they were.
Yeah.
And I find that happens a lot, and it'll be like different names but the same members. Just adding different members, and then all of a sudden you have this one band that makes it, right? So and there's a lot of fucking eyes on Canada right now, especially Western Canada's music scene, because of Spirit Box. They're because Spirit Box has made it so big in the past 3 years. Every record label is looking towards Western Canada and saying, well, what else is hidden there? Well, there's tons hidden here.
Well, they should.
There's so much. Like people don't even realize, like, locally, BC and Alberta, how many amazing bands they have just sitting here. Like, don't waste $100 going to some crazy festival. Spend $10 and go to a local show.
Exactly. Or all these super big radio rock stars that have already had their time and everything else, and they're going and spending all this money, and then where's all the new awesome bands? Well, come to their shows, go to the local shows, we need you. So you can't just have like musicians supporting musicians. You need to get these other people to come out, or these metal guys that like don't come out to shows but love metal, like come to the shows, right? And it's a good scene too. Like, when I was in high school, everybody was metal. You got to be super tough in metal and got to be cool or whatever. Name 3 songs from that band and stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas like the scenes that what I'm finding is the metal scene and punk scene, everybody is just really good. Everybody's really nice and like they're very caring and like
I have a theory,
it's opposite of what you may think of us rowdy looking people.
well, and that's the thing. I have like this funny theory, like metalheads are the nicest people on the planet because we were the outcasts and the rejects. Like we were the ones who felt excluded from the rest of people because we were the creatives. So like all musicians kind of feel that way, all painters feel that way. Creative people do, but I find that like there's this weird like we have to put on this persona to defend ourselves almost from being picked on. So we chose metal because no one wanted to fuck with metalheads. You know what I mean? And then it's like reality, like most metalheads are the biggest teddy bears ever. They're the nicest people ever. Like I've body checked the biggest dude I've ever seen at Slipknot, knocked him down, thought I was gonna get my ass kicked, and he shook my hand. Like that's how the community
well
is.
done,
and,
son.
He was probably happy because some people are probably scared or don't want, or they're
I mean, we're such loving culture. Like I say culture, but like the metal community is like it's so beautiful. We had my girlfriend and one of our really good friends come to Decimate, and neither of them had been to a metal show or a festival. And at the end of it, both of them were fucking metalheads and were like, holy crap, I've never seen so much love. Like seeing kids in the mosh pit with adults, and like we had a kid on stage performing at Decimate and he smashed his guitar, and I'm like, that's what we need, right? Like we need to get a younger generation in, or else it's just gonna slowly die. I feel like there was a weird like time period where there was gatekeepers, and it's like, okay, well, this is what metal is. You have to listen to this, but like you can get into metal from whatever you want to listen to, whether it be like emo music, pop music. If you hear a pop song with a heavy guitar riff and you're like, oh, I like that, and then you end up becoming a metalhead down the road, like whatever. Even if you don't appreciate it, like check it out. Like my mom doesn't like metal at all. She fucking hates the screaming. She's like, I don't get it. And I'm like, yeah, that's understandable. But like, she came to our show and watched us play, and she was mind blown. She's like, you guys are so fucking good. Like, I was like, that's the thing. You gave it that time of day, and now you appreciate and understand. Okay, it's not just screaming over heavy guitar. There's actual like musicianship there.
Real musicianship. Real.
No, I love our community. I don't even have words that can describe how diverse and beautiful it is. Like I think 3 of our shows we played this summer had drag shows. I love that, and I would honestly prefer to have drag shows mid break, like when bands are setting up doing their thing. Have a drag artist come out. It is so entertaining, and it brings a different crowd. We're including another like community that also is very supportive and willing to also host events. So like their events, they'll bring metal bands. You know what I mean? Like I feel that we were stuck in this like weird, like we gotta like keep to this box of fans and stuff, but like branching out and kind of like multi-genre shows is another thing that we used to do a long time ago, and kind of like now it's just deathcore shows, and we're I saw one deathcore band, I want to see like prog band, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of, with so much diversity of talent within Western Canada, there's no shortage of what we could be doing and the amount of shows we could be technically putting on for the communities. I think the lack of support is coming from like a places to play. Like what the music and arts culture needs is a dedicated venue, not another restaurant that we can hide in the corner and play shows to. Because that's the hardest thing, is like then you're battling with the local, like, so you're charging a door, but people are just coming for food. So like you're not charging them because they're not for the show, but they're still getting the show. You know, how do you be like, hey, well, no, like you can't come in unless you're paying. Like we need a venue that is for artists to perform. Like we used to have, like in Kelowna, we used to have the Habitat, and we had the Warehouse, and like they're all gone, and nightclubs don't bring in bands.
Yeah, I was thinking too. Those are kind of like more the touristy towns too, or whatever, where they've got the more spending on that kind of stuff and the Canadian feel or whatever.
Yeah.
That I think, because I've wondered too about like playing Banff or something, if you can play there on the way, or sometimes there can more, and they don't
Yep.
have the biggest metal scene either. They've got some metal bands around there, but they don't have. It's just restaurants and stuff. And then I wonder if that with Penticton as well.
Oh
Like,
yeah, no,
right?
like
You're kind of
Kelowna. So
right, and then
Runaways is
that's
technically a
just like that
restaurant.
too. Yeah,
Jackknife is technically a restaurant.
Yeah,
brewery.
a
Yeah,
brewery.
yeah.
Yeah,
Clancy's is technically a restaurant or a pub. So
Yeah.
like there's most of them are either like here it's either wineries, breweries, or restaurants. There's no dedicated venue anymore. They were all torn down over a COVID. Which is like so, and that's another like that's one thing that we've seen like in Vancouver and a lot of other regions that we've performed at is there's a lot of those dedicated venues shutting down.
Yeah,
Which you think like the governments would kind of like want to invest, or like at least the arts committees for the government would invest in these things, but I think it's the lack of actual people going out to them, which is causing that, right?
Or more often, isn't there like a couple like in Vancouver? There is like bigger venues or like concert ones, but they're just for like the big bands, or they
like
don't always
Commodore
have
Ballroom.
shows. Exactly. And I've wondered about that. Like they should do shows every weekend. It just doesn't always have to be the biggest, musician or like country or whatever.
Yeah,
Like,
or even like when they have a big show, like be like, no, we're putting a local band on as the opener. Like
I
just
think,
kind of give back, right? Because I always say like small bands are small until they're famous, and then people are always like, well, I was there at their shows, and it's like, no, you weren't. It's like you didn't even pay the $5 ever to come, and then now you're like, oh, I was there since day one. Like, no, you weren't, right? Like I can genuinely say I have 2 fans that have been to every show basically my entire career, and like they've been there since day one. So like if I was to ever make it somewhere, I would fly their asses out to see like Vakken and be like, you're on stage with me, because like they were there to support, you know what I mean? Not like my buddy from high school who never showed up and was like, I was there and supported you. Like, fuck that shit.
Oh,
You
right.
know, like,
Yeah.
It's
You need to actively be doing it, and you need to.
we have tons of like great. They're not even fans anymore. I just like they're friends. Like we have one friend, JP. He's from Vancouver, and like he's what I text him all the time, and we met him as a fan, and like he comes to our shows and parties with us when we're there. So like we have this like musicians. There's a beautiful network that we have, and I think like our hardest to like expose ourselves and to like really get ourselves out there to be the next Spirit Box, the next Unleash the Archers is like what they did was they were very community based, but not like local, but their community. So like they saw who supported them and they supported them back. And that's like, I think there's a lot of bands that kind of just like, hey, like support us. What are you giving them back? And there's it's happening more. You see that change too. We have to build that cult, that community behind our own music before we'll ever make that Vakken stage, I guess.
Totally.
Well, and I've talked to other musicians, or there was one of my buddies that was, a long time ago, years ago, was all like, oh, I'm 30 now, or I've been in the scene for this many years. I should be big here. I should be like a celebrity here now or something, or this band, we should be farther or whatever else. And it's like, dude, I've never seen you at a show that you weren't playing. Like, I've never seen you go to someone else's show or trying to promote other people's stuff or any of that kind of stuff. Like, you just, like, you got to work on your band and all that stuff. But I don't know. I learned too at a young, like, I've been playing in bar bands since I was 17 or whatever. And then I had the one bass player, and we go to shows whenever they come to a small town, and we go watch the bands play. And, we'd watch the bass player or whoever, and then they'd get done, and we'd go, oh, can we help you carry gear, and ask them questions like, oh, is your bass player actually a guitar player? He's playing with a pick, or like, just be dicks. But like, you go to support and stuff and be there for the other bands and stuff. And my fiance Ryan and I, we try and, we've been going to shows for a long time and try to be there for our friends and stuff. We have the one guy that was, he was in different bands, different, like hardcore screamo band, and then he's in like this other like tragically hip cover band, and then he's in like a weird, you know, proggy or reggae, ska band, right? Like different, and we came to all those shows, and you know, and there's people do appreciate it, and we've had it too, where people, you know, they see us there, and that's the same thing for anyone that goes. They will see you there, like, you know, and that support, or you're feeding off that energy, and it's so much better when you have, you know, a good crowd, and they're, you know, giving you that energy back too. But you also gotta give it. Yeah.
I find it's much harder for us introverts to get out to those shows. You know, you're like, yeah, I want to see this band, but you're like, ew, people.
Yeah. You're like all week, like I'm gonna do it, and then
building hyping yourself up for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I definitely am guilty of not being able to go as many shows as I'd like to, but that's just because I have like a wee one, and it's usually on the weekends. So I'm like, I want to come to your show, but I can't bring my child because it's not all ages. So it sucks.
Yeah.
But I find that, like, it's true. There's, how would I say it? There is a weird lack of support from other artists going to shows, which there used to be, and I think I'm starting, like I said, like you see it a lot more now that COVID's opened up. I think there was like a weird like animosity, like, oh, you didn't come to my show, so I'm not coming to yours. It's like, well, life happens, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you can't make it to a show, but like, don't hold it personal.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah.
Because I like that's one thing I've had to like deal with friends before us. Like they've argued with me, like, you never come to our show, and it's like, I have though. Just like I didn't come to your last one. You know what I mean? Like I do support, or I try to support at least by sharing, but it is definitely hard because like, especially this summer when you had like 5 shows a night, because everyone had booked. As soon as things opened, everyone was booking the same days. So all of a sudden you have like you're playing the same day as your friends. You're like, well, fuck. Like we've actually booked multiple times where our drummer's playing his other band out of town, and we're like, well, shit, we didn't know, you know, because he has a different booker for that band. So it like everyone was going so all out, I think, all summer that it was like kind of like a free for all.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, there were so many shows that like a Thursday night show nobody wanted to go to because there was a Friday and a Saturday show that were fucking deadly.
Yeah.
You know, so like it really came down to like day, weather, and that's it's kind of like, I don't know. I find I have a lot of, I was very cynical at the beginning of the summer of where the scene was going to end up, like Canada's music scene, and now I'm super excited to see where it goes after seeing how well AMF went, how well Decimate went, Loud as Hell went well, except for the wind.
Oh my
God. We almost had that happen to us at Intersect, because we played up at High Prairie.
Oh yeah.
And that was like, Intersect was, oh wow.
We didn't. We were slated to play at 2:00 in the morning, and I don't think we actually hit the stage till like 5.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was a long day. And then just because like there was a wicked thunderstorm, and like I fell in love with Alberta's thunderstorms this summer. Like, holy crap, the thunder can rumble for like 2 minutes, and I'm like, damn, that's cool. But like we were on our way there, we were hit by like hail balls this big, and everyone's pulling over, and I'm like, do I pull over? And I'm like, I'm fucking doing it. Like I don't want a baseball coming through the window.
No.
The storms out there are crazy.
Oh yeah.
Fuck, I did not realize it because I've only played Alberta a handful of times, and it was in the winter. So like I saw winter Alberta. I've never got to actually enjoy like summer Alberta, but
that's probably equally as terrifying, you know.
The skies, the skies are just unreal. Yeah.
I can say like my favorite places to play is Alberta at this point. Like the support that we got when we played at like Decimate was insane. It was, and the bands were so fun to be around, and like we made so many friends, and like even at AMF we got to see a lot of the same bands that were at Decimate and at Loud as Hell, right? And it's cool because we have such a beautiful network of bands. I just wish that we could expose them more, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I think
that's what you guys are doing. You guys are trying to do, right? Or Yeah, we're trying to. Yes, gotta
We'll
keep
just
pushing on it.
we'll just stay humble, and when Spit of the Sin and Storm the Empire, when we're all huge bands, we'll just remember the low bands, that we'll remember the underground bands, and we'll bring them up.
Definitely.
No, that's true. I think it's what
Okay.
everybody needs to do.
Yep.
Totally. Well, is there anything you guys want to say to your fans before we wrap it up here?
We'll probably do some shout outs and stuff. We talked about the bass. You got that.
Yeah. I'm
Recording of
still
the bass
oogling over
stuff.
the Jackson in the background.
Yeah, it needs.
Is that
it
the
needs
Alexi?
some care.
Is it the
No, it's
Alexi?
Randy
No,
Rhodes.
it
the
should
actual.
be the Randy.
Ooh,
Yeah, Randy
so
Rhodes.
good.
Yeah.
It is Jackson, right?
Says
It's not LTD.
made
Yeah.
in yes,
Okay.
yeah, and it does say made in Japan.
Oh, you got a
Oh.
Japanese one too? I love my Japanese Jackson. Oh, fuck
Oh
yeah.
my
I got
god,
the
it's
black
so
version.
gorgeous.
Is
Right?
It, can I see the neck? Is it bolt on or neck through?
Oh no.
Fucking so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I have a Japanese one with a kill switch built in.
Well,
I have
that's
a
pretty
Japanese
cool.
Jackson with the Floyd Rose and a kill switch that I just recently got, and it came with
Oh.
a hard case, and I'm like, ah. So I can't wait to start playing that. That's gonna be our drop C guitar.
Ooh, yeah, right on.
Mm,
Awesome.
Super stoked.
I stay away from Jackson basses. Just
Yeah, no, I agree.
never gonna repeat that experience.
Yeah.
again.
Yeah, he tried with the Jackson so we could be matching, but
Yeah, did you try?
they're
Was it not good?
No,
Jackson
so
basses
Yeah.
are just
so I got the Dave Elfson signature 5-string bass.
Yeah.
And it was the newer. There's two different models. This one was the second generation. Almost looked like a 5-string P bass.
Yeah.
And the way the scale length worked on it, and with the harmonics, because I took it to two different luthiers and they told me the same thing. That B string just can't cut through a mix.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like harmonically muted or something like that.
wow.
Oh shit.
So like we'd be playing one of our songs,
Yeah.
and then there was this riff that would play just on the B string. As soon as I started playing it, nothing.
quiet.
Couldn't hear me.
Ah.
Oh wow, eh?
Yeah, so I haven't seen. I actually even emailed Jackson about it, and I haven't seen one of those basses in over a year now. I think they pulled them off the shelves.
Probably.
Oh.
The 4-string version of it was freaking great.
Yeah.
It's just the 5th string.
Yeah, the 5-string
Yeah.
was just no good.
I play 7. Like I play 7 strings. My main guitar is an Agile, and I bought a Jackson Soloist 7, and no, I hate it. I honestly can't. It's beautiful. It looks amazing, but like playing it, it just that low string just.
It's just got the
Yeah, minus the
Soloist.
Floyd Rose, I think is pretty much the same one, and it's like honestly that top like that low A string just fucking. It's so floppy and shit. It just like no matter what you do, compared to the Agile, like my Agile, it just rings.
Yeah.
Like it's so full body, even with the 7th string that like I can't replace that at this point. I'm trying to find a backup and nothing can compete with it. So like,
Oh shoot.
you know what I mean? Jackson, I love Jacksons for their V's and their Kellys, but I think that's the only, and maybe like a handful of soloists, but that's about it.
Yeah, this one's just a 6-string. It's not 7. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Jacksons, but I find like the main, like I've been hustling, well not hustling guitars, but I've been really big into like trading and trading guitars over the summer. So I've been buying a guitar, I'll sell it or I'll trade it for something else, and I've managed to get like a really wicked collection that I'm finally super happy with.
Yeah.
But even like that, like you go through so many and you realize the difference in quality of the main 5 guitar companies versus like I have a Godin and it's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And my PRS is gorgeous. And my Agile is amazing. But like the Jacksons that I've had, I've been really disappointed with. And same with a lot of the other, like the Schecters. I've had a couple nice Schecters. But like you really get to see the quality in guitars when you become a musician. And like, yeah, like you said, like Jackson basses. No, like there are bass makers and there are guitar makers. And I don't think that they could do both.
Yeah, they have their more like
Yeah.
strengths. Like each one has their strength and a specific kind of sound or
Yeah.
instrument. Yeah.
I
yeah.
still think the Fender P bass is the greatest bass of all time. I mean,
Right? Like
can't
that's
go
a
wrong
company
with
that can make back and forth. But I think the only thing that I hate about the main companies is they're like not handmade anymore. They're like so manufactured that it's just like they're sending them out with flaws instead of having
Oh
them
yeah. Hey,
WPA.
cutting your fingers on the frets and stuff. Hey, like shave
that's
down the
happened,
sides of the
yeah.
frets and stuff.
Now, like they
yeah.
use those little things that really make a guitar is what they used to take care of, but they like the
Yeah.
quality controls just sending them out now. That's why I really like these up and coming guitar companies, like
Yeah.
these like Solar and stuff. Like yeah, they're same
Oh, yeah.
price, but like you're buying a $1,200 Gibson that's
Yeah.
shit versus buying a handmade guitar
Yeah.
that genuinely has care put into it, right?
Exactly.
Like that Gibson is fucking gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like show them the
And
etching.
yeah,
because
I
I want to
just
see the etching
yes,
because like
and
we did
call
that
it
before.
out.
Like look how
Custom.
stunning that is. And the artist that did that is from Alberta, right?
Wow.
Yeah, Fox and Owl Wood Shop.
That
And they
is so
got
cool.
There's the back.
And you got your
That
giant
totally
Balrog
inspires.
patch.
Did she
in,
just
like, a
freehand
different-
everything, or are those stencils?
No,
or...
no, she
love
didn't
that one.
freehand
Was it the
it.
camera or like laser?
It was
or
some
was
kind of
it...
it was some kind of machine, but
Oh, okay.
I don't know how she controlled it or anything. Like
Yeah, or maybe
like
it's
a machine
computer
did
laser
it, but I
etched.
think she controlled the machine by hand or
And the symbols that are on it, you chose, right?
yeah, it was a collaboration between so it's two people. There's one girl, Alex. She's the one that worked the machine. She does all the labor, and then her roommate was the one that she did all of the art.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So it was a collaboration between the three of us, and I was debating between either going Nordic or Lord of the Rings style.
Oh yeah, that would have been cool. Yeah.
And I decided to go Nordic.
I dig it.
And yeah, it's pretty cool. I got Yggdrasil, the World Tree. I got Gungnir, Odin's Spear. I got Mjolnir.
Patch.
I have Jormungandr, and I have the Helm of Awe. And then to pair it all off, it also fits kind of the Nordic theme. I have this strap here.
Oh,
My
shit.
good friends in
look at
Balrog.
Balrog. If you haven't listened to them already, you should.
They're
Go,
fucking
Yeah, our
awesome.
buddies. Yeah.
They gave me this giant patch for my birthday a couple years ago,
Okay.
and I'm not a vest patch guy. It's just that's not my aesthetic. And I'm like, what am I gonna do with all these patches? I have so many patches. So I actually just started putting them on my guitar straps.
Dude, I love that.
So
Oh,
I have multiple
sweet.
straps with all these different patches, and this is my biggest one with my homies in Balragath. Those guys are the fucking coolest. So
That's awesome.
you should definitely check out
Yeah,
Balragath.
they did a CD release in like June or whatever, start of the summer, and their album, the one song is like, or their album's like a second on like CSJW radio
Yeah.
or whatever.
Oh,
like,
really?
Their songs are awesome. Oh yeah, and they've got some kind of like Lord of the Rings theme stuff, or like
I love that.
fantasy or video games and all sorts of
I'm
stuff
such a geek.
there.
That's right up my
Yeah.
alley.
Totally, right? So yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, they're really good friends. Sasha and Ryan even lived with their lead
We
singer
lived with them
Chris
for
and
a
his
bit,
girlfriend for a while. And
Oh,
That's awesome.
sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of a band house, kind of.
Yeah.
Lots of bands every week or
Yeah.
whatever. People coming in and out, and
and then me and their drummer Jesse we're football guys.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You do have some of those in the metal
So
scene.
yeah, so him and I are always talking football and
Sports fans. Or
Yeah,
it's
big
Travis
sports
from
fans,
Crimson
but-
Caliber. We've known them for years.
Oh, fuck
Thrash
yeah.
metal band. Those guys are
Shout out to
awesome.
Crimson. I love them.
Yeah,
so
you
much.
guys
Yeah.
did an interview with them, I think,
Yeah.
earlier this year,
I
last
love
year.
them so much. Such good people.
Yeah, and
absolutely. They're awesome. They're very friendly. I hung out with them quite a bit at Loud as Hell.
yeah.
Nice.
So fun. Every time I walked by, I'd be like, "Holy shit, is that Amber from Crimson Caliber?"
Amber's awesome.
Yeah,
She's such
yeah.
a genuine person.
Oh yeah, we
Yeah,
love
And
her,
then
yeah,
like
we-
all
together,
of them.
I love
yeah.
seeing like the couple metal bands. Like those
Yeah.
are like that's my favorite things. They're just
Yeah.
so adorable. And then like you see them on stage, and you're like, those two are hard as fuck. You know what I mean? Like they're so gentle people outside, and like, yeah, no,
Yeah.
they're wicked.
I love it. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I was doing that to Mark Russell, I think, too, at Dickens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Citizen Rage. Yeah, those guys are awesome. Always.
That's awesome. That's like Hyperia.
Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
become such good friends with Hyperia. They're like our
Yeah.
family now.
Yeah.
I love them so much.
Definitely.
Yeah, I've seen them a few times.
When
too,
we've got yeah,
I've
for
seen
sure, for sure. And then my fiance Ryan is with he's a camera guy for Trash Talk with Nate Trash.
Oh,
That's
Oh,
the
no
podcast.
way.
Okay. That's so
So
funny. I love Nate.
Horrify and all them. Yeah, that's all family too. Yeah,
Yeah.
all those guys.
That's what I mean. Like the community that was built over COVID is so extensive because like
Yeah.
Western Canada's bands are now so linked with Eastern Canada.
Yeah.
It's just really just like trying to get that crossover to start happening again.
Yeah. Even
And
more.
and the communities to start coming out and seeing like
Yeah.
not necessarily like how brutal their music scene is, but like come check out the talent, you know, like bring
Yeah.
your kids and
On the energy and stuff like that. Or you might like, I don't know, sometimes I've had it too, where you people like you don't want to go out or you didn't want to see family or something. But once you go out and then you're there, you have a wonderful time. And you get
Oh,
done
yeah.
and you're like, yeah, I'm glad I kicked myself in the butt to come out or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
No, it's very
You
true.
know, or just sometimes you have to like kick yourself in the butt to practice, or you're not always gonna be in this perfect 100% happy, energized mood. Some days you're gonna, you know, be low energy or negative or whatever, and sometimes you
Yeah.
need to kind of kick yourself in the butt and
Break out of
Yeah,
it.
no. I literally just
Yeah.
posted like, you know, the scene from Jay and Silent Bob when they're like, let's see what all these internets are saying to us on the internet, or these fucks on the internet are saying.
Yeah.
I posted that and I'm like, it's me in the morning when I wake up and open Facebook. I'm just like, let's see what these little fucks have said on the internet.
Yeah,
Like, oh,
come
you
on.
fuckers are gonna pay. Like, I literally have days where I'm just like, fuck the world. And then the next day I'm like, I
Oh.
want to save everyone.
I know, right? Yeah, I love everyone. No, everyone sucks. Yeah.
No, it's definitely a struggle that I think we all deal with now,
Yeah.
especially after being like such homebodies for 2.5 years.
Yeah, but it got people, I think, to think too, right? And look back on what's going on and stuff.
I can honestly say COVID was the best thing that ever happened to me, in the sense
Yeah.
that I never took my music career as serious as I do now, and we've been more successful in the last year than I have in the 20 years I've done before.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
that was just because I actually said, like, no, like I want to do this, and like took it seriously. So
Did it.
I've been
100%.
doing, since we started Enigma, like I haven't had to. This has been my full-time job since we started. Like one way or another, this is gonna make it, and that's how I look at it with our band too. So
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I think that a lot of us have that drive. And
Yeah.
it's just the time. The waiting game is the biggest fucking pain in the ass. Like
Yeah.
not everybody has 10 years to wait to make it big, right? But like, do it. Just fucking bite the bullet,
Yeah.
make it through.
Yeah.
And when you're staring
Yeah.
out at fucking 100,000 faces singing your song, you'll remember back and be like, wow.
I'm glad I stuck it out.
Right? I'm
Yeah,
glad I
yeah.
stuck it out. Exactly. Because like
Listen to myself. Yeah.
Adam Parent, I don't know if you guys know who Ninja Spy is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their drummer is the drummer for Michael Graves, so the former singer of the Misfits.
Yeah.
And he got to play Vakken, and like I've watched his career and known him and just watched it, and like he is so inspirational for how far he's come.
Yeah.
And like it's possible. Like he's
totally.
It is doable.
Yeah.
You just got to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Manifest that shit.
Manifestation works. It really does.
What you think, you create. Or
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. Awesome. And then those connections were made. I know, like, I was connecting. I had like buddy from Obsidian and stuff like that was really helping me out with like trying to book out in BC and stuff like that in 2020. So there was a bunch of places there I was wanting to play, and I don't know if Pub 340, they shut down too, didn't they, in Vancouver?
Yes.
We wanted to play, and I think there was Oki out in I think that's in Mission, BC. I think she's got like a recording store and like merch and stuff like that, secondhand store, or like that stuff. If you guys want to check that out, or I don't know, I think we were gonna maybe set up a show there. Like there's just stuff everywhere. There's so many bands. We've played with so many bands over the years. I could name them all, but I would be here for a while, or any of our friends' bands. But
Right.
like we said, there's, shout outs to, we know lots of them, like Siren, we talked about, Crimson Caliber, all those guys, Horrify, check them out. There's lots of them. I said Skull Splitter, we played with them.
Skull Splitter is
from Edmonton.
Yeah, they're
Played
one
with
of
them,
their
September.
frontman's one of the most charismatic people I've ever met in my life.
Nice.
He's just this massive bald dude.
Yeah.
And he's like, he doesn't look like the lead singer type at all. Like, he looks like, yeah, but he's just, and he's so fucking hilarious.
Yeah, oh, funny. Yeah,
he's
yeah.
so funny. We played the show with them in Edmonton, and we did our song Agincourt, which is about the Battle of Agincourt in the year 1415.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he comes up here and he's like telling me all this stuff about he knows about the Battle of Agincourt.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this guy's so cool.
Yeah. I think he was from the UK. He did have a British accent. Yeah. Yeah.
He's very English.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he enunciates his T's at all. That's how English he
And
is.
Yeah, it was like Dale. He's like, have a bottle of water. And we're like, a what? We used to make fun of him all the time. We love him. Shout out to Dale.
Yeah, shout out to Dale.
Shout out, yeah. And Planet Eater, we got Saskatchewan bands too. Those guys are awesome.
Fuck yeah.
They were so
great.
fun to watch play.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah, they're fun. We were camping right by them in like 2019 at Loud as Hell, and yeah, they were great.
Nice.
They're hilarious, and
That's so
yeah,
funny.
they were bugging I think the bass player was the newest member, and they're saying how much he's aged since joining the band, or they're just bugging the shit out of him and stuff, and like, it was great. And yeah, it was a really good time there. And
if a band doesn't make fun of the bass player, there's a problem.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, me and Norm have known each other since we were like 5 years old. So
we got big shoulders. We can take it,
Yeah.
All right.
I
apologize. I have another interview at noon here, so I got to wrap this one up.
Yeah,
Thank you guys so much for coming on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Hell yeah. And let us know when you guys have the EP ready, or if you guys are releasing singles. We'll help promote the shit out of it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and then message me on, and we'll set up some shows in the Okanagan.
Yeah, totally. Hell yeah. Right on. Well, keep sharing your guys' stuff. Yeah, have a good one.
Bye, guys. Thanks again.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.